Hi everyone, good afternoon, hope you're all good. I just wanted to do a quick tutorial on bearing maintenance, given that we've been discussing it quite a lot in our autumn theme blog online on our website. So we've got 3 episodes in and we've got one more episode to go next week. So if you've not read any of the blogs, then certainly pop on and have a reread. So today we are going to be maintaining this bearing here. So we'll be popping the seals off, cleaning, re-greasing it and popping the seals back on. Now I just want to preface the maintenance video with the fact that taking the bearing off the bike and maintaining it this way isn't ideal. When you remove a bearing from the bike, it can shock the bearing and cause it not to run as well as what it would do if it was new. So ideally you would want to be doing the maintenance while the bearing is still on the bike. So if you can get access to it to be able to clean and re-grease it, that's the best way to do it because you're not going to shock the bearing. However, if you're in a pinch and you have to take it off the bike, then this is what you can do to prolong the life of the bearing until you can get a replacement. So if you do have a ride coming up that you really want to do, but you can't get the bearing in time, this is what you would do if you can't, if you have to take it off the bike. So yeah, let's get started. Before we go and start the cleaning process, I'll just run through what tools I would normally use. So first and foremost, I would have my safety specs, just to stop any spray from the degreaser. I have the Stanley blades, they help me pop off the seals of the bearing. We've got a couple of cloths for cleaning, the bearing itself, and today we're going to be using the Enduro bearings grease. I would normally have a little container like this just to pop the bearing in so we can spray the degreaser into that, and this catches all of the degreaser. And then we've got the degreaser itself. So normally I would use Peaty's XXX degreaser. It's great for blasting out the dirt and for getting rid of all the greasy buildup. So yeah, that's what I would use today, and we'll just get right into the cleaning process. So the first thing we're going to do is check the bearing, because as you can see, there are 2 different coloured seals here. Sometimes that can indicate that the bearing has to be installed in a certain way. So what we're going to do here is have a look at the code on the side, and we can see that just above this is the red seal and underneath it is a black seal. So that'll remind us when we put the bearing back together what seal goes where. So the first thing we're going to do is take something really fine. I normally use a Stanley blade, and we can just pop the seals off and we can see what the damage is like inside. Just need to be super careful here so we're not damaging the seals. There we go, and that top one's just popped off. As you can see, that's pretty, it's dirty inside, a bit rusty and corroded, but not as bad as what I was expecting it to be. And then we can do the same on this side. Just apologies, the lighting here is a bit poor, and that one's come off a lot easier. Okay, so we can see that here. So what I would normally do then is I'd normally get like a container, like this little glass one here, and we can put it in here, and then we can use a degreaser to give it a bit of a clean. So normally I would use the Peaty's XXX solvent degreaser, and this is pretty powerful stuff. Then we can just give it a good clean out. You see there, it's actually looking pretty clear already. Water's not as dirty as what I was expecting either. Okay, I think that should be enough. But what we'll do is we'll take it out and we will give it a good clean with the cloth. Just turn this over a wee bit, give it a wee swish, take out any sort of remaining dirt. And then we can give it a wee dry off. And that should get the dirt out. And I'll just keep giving it a good clean with the cloth until the cloth isn't getting as many marks on it. So it's actually not as dirty as I expected it to be, because it was feeling really rough when it came out of the hub it was in. But what I'll do is we're giving it a decent enough clean here, but after this we need to grease it. So we want to make sure the bearing is completely dry of the degreaser before going near it with the grease, because then it kind of defeats the purpose. So we'll leave this aside. I'll just stick this on top of a cloth. And we will leave that there to dry. What we're going to do is now have a look at cleaning the seals. You wouldn't want to use degreaser on these because the seals are rubber, and degreaser can actually cause the rubber to distort. So you just want to use a clean, dry cloth to give them a bit of a wipe down. So we just go around them like this, just being really careful to not cause any sort of distortion as you're cleaning them. And as you can see there, it's actually cleaned up pretty well. And then we'll do the same with the black one. The black one's actually not too bad, but you would just give it a quick clean. If you were to forget to clean the seals, if they are dirty, they will create some drag when you go to install them on the cleaned up bearing. So you want to remember to clean the seals as well as the bearing itself. So now we have the clean and dry bearing, and as you can see, that's looking pretty good now. And we are going to use Enduro bearings grease. So we know this came from a hub, so we know that it's not a max bearing. We can see it's not a max bearing, so we want to use the performance grease one. We don't want to use the one that's designed for max bearings. So what we're going to do is re-grease this side. We'll install the seal, and then we'll flip it over and do the same with the other side. So you want to just kind of try and apply it as evenly as you can. This stuff is really, really good. And because it's a syringe, it's really easy to apply as well. And what I'd normally do is I would normally sort of run the bearing just to kind of move the grease through the balls, get into the gaps. And now this is where we have to check, which we spoke about earlier, was what seal now goes on that side. So because it's at the bottom of the code, we know it's the black seal. What we'll do is we'll just pop this back on. And you will see that some of the grease will start to come out, but we can give that a wee wipe down in a minute. And that's just went right back in there. So what we'll do is we will flip it round now, and we can do the same on the other side. You can actually see some of the grease has started coming through from that other side because we ran it through the bearing. So we'll just start applying this to this side. There we go. And again, we'll do the same as we did before, and we'll run it. It's actually feeling so much smoother than what it did earlier, the bearing. So run that through, and now we can pop the red seal back on. And yeah, we're getting quite a lot of residue coming out there. We pop the seal back on, but with this and maintaining your bearings, it's always better to use more grease than too little grease. So it just means it's just more to get wiped off. So we can just take our cloth and we can just wipe it down. You can see here, that's most of it off. Now, if you'd watched our video last week about trying to work out which was the worn bearing and which was the new bearing, you would remember, you would have seen that the bearing was super loose. So it was like spinning like really, like too freely almost, with no resistance at all. But if you can actually see, because we've maintained this bearing, it's not completely smooth, but you can actually see there's a resistance there now, and it's not just spinning freely and then just kind of doing as it pleases. So it shows now that we're packed with grease and it's running a lot more smoothly.